Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Book Learning. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite authors' newer books. Robert Kiyosaki is famous for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that whole brand, and he teaches financial literacy. This book that we'll be talking about today is newer, 2015-ish. It's called Second Chance. So let's get right into it. Now, I've learned a ton from Mr. Kiyosaki, and my brand is even following in some of the stuff that he teaches. Mainly that employees rarely achieve financial independence, and one of the most common ways to achieve it is through entrepreneurship. Hey, I quit my job to help you quit yours, right? That's the brand. Now, as I mentioned, today we're looking at Second Chance for your money, your life, and our world. Mr. Kiyosaki may be upset with me for this, but one way I would describe the book is this. He made some claims and predictions in his 1997 book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and in others since then. And now in this book, he's kind of saying, so that stuff all came true. Are people gonna listen to me now? Obviously, that's not all. In my opinion, he's even bolder with his statements than in any of his other books. A lot of the book is question and answers, so you feel like you're sitting in on an interview with him, and it's an interview with some eye-opening lessons. So, let's take a look at a quote from the book. The purpose of modern education was to take poor people and educate them in ways that would create a large middle class of educated workers, executives, professionals, and soldiers. More specifically, employees, consumers, and taxpayers. Clearly, this is near and dear to my heart, because this is what my business is trying to change. The reason that a lot of people are miserable in their 9-to-5 is because they don't know there's another option. And our society has scared them into thinking that they'll be failures if they're not gainfully employed, right? I love that term. It's ironic. That's why we teach people how to make the leap from employee to entrepreneur in a proven, sensible way. That's what my company's all about. Okay, the quote hits on our first golden nugget of the day. We'll get more into our education system and expose some of what's really going on behind the scenes. Next, we'll talk about why savers are losers. Don't worry, you're not a loser in that sense if you're trying to save your money, but you may find that you're losing money. Last, we'll hit on the largest recurring theme that I've found in Robert's teachings, and that's that the poor work for income while the rich work for assets. Let's dive right into our education system and how it's failed you. Without getting into what some people may say is conspiracy talk, there are some who believe that those who are in power have rigged the system to remain in power. Gee, that's impossible to believe. Okay, whatever. If you're interested, I'll let you research a little on your own about the robber barons and the impact some of them had on our education system. But that's not for this presentation, not for this lesson. The point is, especially during the Industrial Revolution, our economy needed many, many bodies for hard labor. Enter employees. If you didn't own a steel plant, you could work at one to make money to feed your family. Good deal. The American dream became about working harder to earn more money to buy more things like cars and houses. That's still pretty much what it is today. The problem is that this puts the focus of the average American on material things that they don't generate more income for them. All they do is, well, Mr. Kiyosaki calls these liabilities. Enter consumers. And let's not forget that before you can buy anything, in fact, before you even get your money, the government is taking its more than fair cut. Enter taxpayers. The kicker is that as an employee earns more money, he's taxed at a higher rate. Compare this with someone who owns the steel plant, or rental units today, and other business investments to earn passive income, which is taxed at a lower rate. So our education system teaches us how to be a lot of things, but one that it doesn't teach is how to be rich. We could dig a lot deeper if we wanted. Does our society need these low-paid workers, this manual labor, hard work? Could the government change this? How taxes are, how the laws are, etc. Will the increase of machines and automation that we're seeing today change any of this and where the work is needed and where the wealth is distributed? There are plenty more questions we could ask. Let me know what you think about this in general. But for now, let's move on to why savers are losers and debtors are winners. This is a great time for me to recommend that you buy and read this book right now. I'm going to highlight this point, but the book goes into more detail and gives more examples. I'll just try to paint a picture. Today's banking system uses what's called the fractional reserve system. Simply put, this means that a bank can loan out some multiple of the money that it actually has in its vault. Currently, the multiple is about 10, I think. Put another way, at least this is what you find when you research. Put another way, a bank has to reserve 10% of its loans in actual cash on hand. Here's what this looks like in action. First, your parents teach you that you should save your money. Second, you earn, or you get $100 from grandma, let's say, for your birthday, and you put it in a savings account. Over the year, you earn 1% on your savings account, if you're lucky nowadays, which totals $1. In that same year, the bank loaned out 10 times your $100 or $1,000 and earned something more like 10% on it, which totals $100. By the way, 10%, that's on the lower end range. And 1% for you, I think that's the higher end range these days if you're talking about a general savings account. Now, if you don't already feel used enough, here's the kicker. Because the bank has created all this extra money in the economy now, your $100, and especially the $1 you earned, isn't worth as much as it was at the beginning of the year. This is called inflation. The US government, last I knew, aims to keep inflation around 2% annually. So you have $101 to purchase what now costs $102. And the bank in the meantime has doubled its money. This is why savers are losers. Moving on, let's talk about income versus assets and how this differentiates the poor from the rich. The poor focus on getting more income so they can eat, pay their bills, and basically survive. In between is the middle class, which has enough income to pay their bills with some left over to buy cars and houses and plasma TVs. As they make more income, they use it to buy these liabilities. A liability is the opposite of an asset, and the only thing we need to understand to grasp this concept is cash flow. If something puts cash in your pocket, it's an asset. If it takes cash out, it's a liability. A simple example of a liability, especially if you buy it with a loan, is a car. Because it costs you something every month. Well, especially if you're driving that, right? Anyway, a good example of an asset is a rental property. Because your renters hopefully give you money every month. The poor and middle class focus on earning more income so they can buy more stuff. The rich focus on acquiring assets, because these assets generate more income, which allows them to acquire more assets, and so on and so forth. Assets beget assets. Whoop, I skipped ahead here. Assets beget assets, okay? The point at which passive income from those assets pay all your living expenses is called financial independence. And it's what we should all strive for in our financial lives. Another word I use for it is freedom. Okay, I hope this stuff isn't too depressing, but maybe it's just what you need as a wake-up call. If you've suspected that the whole 9 to 5 isn't the best way to do things, you're right. And if you've struggled to find another way, it's not your fault. The system really is against you from the start. But take a deep breath, and instead of getting depressed, use this knowledge as motivation to go out and learn more, do more, and build a better future. Arm yourself with knowledge and beat the system. That being said, let's look at today's exercise. Comment on this so you drill the knowledge into your head and set your intentions for the future. Number 1. What do you wish you'd learned in school? This doesn't even have to be around finances. I think there's plenty of room for more. Number 2. Do you save money or do you spend it? And remember that spending can come in many forms. Assets, liabilities, expenses. Number 3. What kind of assets do you want to invest in? Businesses, real estate, commodities, even some kinds of stocks, anything that will put cash in your pocket. Go out and take your freedom and let us know how we can help you do it. That's why my company exists. That's what we do. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.